intelligence, expertise.
What other doors could they close?
Like, how much am I willing to give up and commitment, and are not committed to the struggle, acquiescing to the struggle, they're committed.
Careful who you leave toeless.
Hello everybody, Dr. Rick Wallace here, dropping in on you. Actually had to drop one of the kids off today, so I'm out moving around instead of at the desk, but I'm on my way back. What I want to do is talk to you about something that I don't talk a lot about, because when you go deep off into some of the behaviors of white society, when you go deep off into the behaviors of certain governments and the things that they do, you are often labeled a conspiracy theorist and not taken seriously. And I'm not one for just being, willing to talk about stuff that nobody's consuming. So I touch on issues that are easier to put your head around, at least sometimes. But there are some things that are going on now that just won't allow me to rest. The wife and I were talking about it on last night, and here we were talking about the epidemic of sexually transmitted diseases here in America, but she was also looking into some things where certain countries like India and countries within the African continent, where HIV specifically is on the rise and the treatment of HIV is questionable. For instance, in India, she was sharing with me the fact that in India they don't provide medication for people who are HIV positive until they start showing signs of AIDS, until they're actually starting to get sick. And we started talking about biological warfare and disease as a form of population control. And there was a report I ran into this morning just by happenstance, where over 900 kids in one city in Pakistan are tested positive for HIV, and they don't know what's going on. We're talking about a form of warfare, and we're talking about population control. I know for a fact that as far back as the early 1970s, the U.S. government was very invested and interested in population control. If you need something for reference, refer to the NSSM 200 and the NSSM 2000. Do your research on that alone, and a lot will be revealed. My thing is, and Marion brought up a point that's powerful. My point was in the conversation is this is being pushed, I believe, by Big Pharma and government. With Big Pharma, you got a lot of sick people that need medicine, but the government is looking at the long game, that people are becoming very comfortable with risky behaviors, because the impression now by certain medications and all of this is that you can pretty much do anything and just get rid of it. We know for a fact that the use of condoms has decreased over the last decade. And all these medications that can lower your whatever count it is when you have HIV, to the point that it's undetectable, and if you're undetectable, you can't transmit the disease. But the truth is, they're not telling you that. It's about a 4% chance that you can still transmit the disease, even if the virus is not detectable. And it's 96% chance that you don't, but it's a 4% chance that you can't. But here's the thing. If the government decides to do something different with how medications are accessed, or what medications are accessible, or how affordable, there's a person that in this special that Marion shared with me, there's a person who walks up to the counter to get his medication. The medication is $2,000 after insurance has been applied. It was $5,000 before that. And it's crazy. So what happens when they convince a large portion of the population to participate in risky behavior that ultimately... So sorry about that, but anyway, all of these different promotions and commercials and ads that are running that suggest that, there are no real true consequences to risky behavior as far as sex is concerned. And then you turn around and you look, and you got the rise of HIV, the rise of syphilis, the rise of gonorrhea and chlamydia. They're back on the rise. I mean, syphilis was almost extinct and gone, and now it's on the rise. It's on the comeback. And it's the practicing of risky behavior, not taking the right precautions, and so much more. And we've got to deal with that on our side as well. But what I'm saying is, okay, now you have these diseases. You think, okay, I'll go down and get a shot. The first thing is that biological diseases have a tendency, whether they're viral or bacterial, have a tendency to develop resistance against the drugs that are used to treat them. And so you get strains that don't respond to the medication. That's one thing. Another thing is, yes, Big Pharma is going to win on this because now they're putting out, they're moving medication to treat these different things. Here's what's scarier than Big Pharma doing what Big Pharma has always done. Here's what's scarier. What's scarier is an idea where, for whatever reason, medication is no longer accessible. And we're looking at that. Like I said, you got medications that are costly now and people can get them because of certain coverages. What if the coverages no longer cover the medication? What if only the wealthy can afford the medication? What if that is withdrawn? Now you have a large number of people dying from these diseases that were once treatable and curable, and preventable through the proper practices. Those are some things that we've really got to consider. We've got to do a better job of educating the masses. We've got to do a better job of educating our children. And there's so much more. I really, really want to address this on a much deeper level, and I think I'm going to put together some facts and project it out to see what it looks like. Also look at what it has looked like in the past. But we've got to be more aware of what's happening and what's going on. And again, I don't like to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I've seen conspiracies. I've seen them proven. I watched the entire trial, 1999 trial, where the King family faced off against the U.S. government in civil court under the accusation that they not only sanctioned but organized the hit on Dr. Martin Luther King, and the government was found guilty, culpable, and responsible for the death of Dr. King. And when you look at the facts, it wasn't like, okay, they were just complacent or compliant or whatever. It was like they literally put that thing in motion. So this is what, we've got to look at. While some people can get really out there when it comes to conspiracies and theories on conspiracies, the truth of the matter is there are a lot of people who are, aware of what's really going on and how it's, playing out. And so we've got to be careful. We've got to be aware. And that's something that I talk a lot about. I talk about the need for us to really and truly be aware of what's going on deep levels, not just the stuff we see on the surface. And be aware when you see it of where the source is. Is it coming from mainstream media? If it's coming from mainstream media, even if it's facts, there's a spin on it. There's an agenda-driven spin on it, and you've got to be able to decipher that, unravel it, and find the authentic, genuine, 100% pure truth, and then determine how that impacts you. with that being said, look, I'm going to get off of here, and we will talk soon. You guys have a great day.
Hello, everybody. Dr. Rick Wallace here, dropping in on you. Hope that everybody's having an unbelievable day. As for me, it's business as usual, pushing forward, trying to uh, optimize my time, maximize my impact, and be a catalyst for change for the good, of course. I have my ups and my downs like everybody else, but I'm here because I want to share something with you. And before I do, I want to remind you, we're still in the midst of a fundraiser, an ongoing fundraiser to help uh, subsidize, so to speak, what we're doing beyond what I personally fund to finance. We're not going to talk about it a lot. For those who have been aware for some time of what we do, we need your support. We're going to leave it at that. Uh, the way you can support is always going to be listed in the description box on the video that you're watching, no matter what. So that's that. What you're about to view is a very short clip of something that really caught my attention this morning and moved me in a very positive way, just to be able to experience it from my desktop. It is a young black father coming home to a teenage son that he had, that had not seen him outside of an institution since he was 3. So maybe 12, 13 years that they haven't had that type of contact. And so he's home and he's now seeing his son for the first time. He goes up to his school, the son isn't expecting it. And you can watch the engagement of that. I want you to just see what happens. It's nothing, it's not a lot of conversation. It's just an engagement. It's pure emotion, pure love. And we get a chance to see that. And then I'm going to give you a very brief commentary on what I observed and why we've got to be more intentful in addressing this issue. Take a look. Okay, thanks for those who took the time to watch that. Look, I'm not going to take long with this. I just want to hammer home a point. We have 1.5 million black men who are missing, predominantly due to mass incarceration as well as homicide and other forms of early death that are taking our men who are in the age of parenting primarily and leaving a gap that puts pressure on our women and leaves our young babies with questions. We have to be more intentful in engaging the conversation that's necessary to change this. We've got to deal with the issues that lead to incarceration. Then we must also deal with the issues that enforce recidivism. We're talking about 75% of the people who are released from prison will return within 3 years. That's what the numbers say. And we need to address that. We need to provide a space for people who have made mistakes to come home. We need to provide avenues to fight for those who have been falsely accused. We need to work on prevention that before it ever becomes an issue. And that means addressing the disproportionality at which young black males are referred for special education assignments, which works to alienate the young black male from the school process, leading to early dropout, which also increases their risk for incarceration. You have to see how the system works. I've said this so many times. You need to understand how things work if you plan on being an impact in changing the things that you don't like and being able to reproduce the things that you do. It's so important to understand the dynamics of what's taking place so that you can become more than a complainer, more than a finger pointer. You want to be a catalyst of change, an instrument of change. You want to be someone who is making their presence felt. And that comes from knowing, that comes from being willing to put in the work. There's so much that has to be done in this, and so many of the ills, not all, but so many of the ills can be traced here to, in full, in part, or in part, have an impact on the realities that we are suffering with, and give us some type of idea of what we need to do to change it. I've put a lot of time and energy and effort into learning about and understanding these dynamics so that we can create change. We're not going to get anywhere by complaining. We're not going to get anywhere by finger pointing. Yes, we know there are people who are directly working against us. We know that we are targets. We know that we are victims of oppression. We know that we are descendants of slaves. We know so many things, but we also have to know by looking at who we are and what we've been through that we are resilient people, that we are a people who are built to survive and win. But what we are going to have to do is take our creativity, take our imagination, take our spiritual aptitude that's exceptional and remarkable, and use it to our benefit. We can't keep turning to the oppressor and asking them to lift their foot off our neck. We have to get to a point in which we say we will remove it without question, by any means necessary. It's that simple. So my simple challenge or charge here is, let's step up. Let's have these discussions. Let's sit down together at our table, not theirs, at our table, and determine what direction we're going to take. How far are we willing to go? Are we willing to go the distance? Are we willing to put in the time? Are we willing to die for what we know we should have? That's going the distance. That's saying there's absolutely nothing that's going to stand in the way of me providing a better world for my children and their children and their children. It's absolutely imperative that we get together on this and develop a consistent and systemic agenda that will work to our benefit. On that note, I'm going to check out of here. Once again, reminding you that we definitely need your support and your help. You guys have an unbelievable day. Hopefully, I'll be back to you a little later on. I'm out.
Conceptual things people talk about it, I ain't throwing shots. All of the elements they think, intelligence, expertise.
What other doors could they close?
Hey, how much am I willing to give up and commitment, and are not committed to the struggle? Acquiescing to the struggle, they're committed.
Careful who you leave.
Hello everybody, Dr. Rick Wallace dropping in right now. Thanks, first of all. Second of all, I just need to really iterate the fact that we need your help. We need your support right now. We are pushing to hit a goal of $25,000 by the end of this week. That if we hit that goal, it'll help us cover our goals for the first quarter. It'll help us consistently continue to do what we're doing with Black Men Lead, Restoring Ghettos Forgotten Daughters, our new program for providing mental health services and resources, and so much more that we've been doing consistently. Again, we need your support like we've never needed it before. Thank you in advance. You have a great day.